microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The Doctor of Discernment is now online.
You know, much like my show, in that it's a local reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, it should be obvious to everybody. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the fourth hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from the basement bunker beneath KELO Radio. Welcome to the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. Continuation of what we do on KELO radio in Sioux Falls, South Dakota each and every day. And it's great to have all of you along. Let's go to the President's Truth Social account. First of all, I do want to thank you. More and more of you are subscribing to the Greg Belfrage Show on YouTube. We're up to 590 subscribers. Not a huge number, I know, but I'm grateful for each and every one of you. We started with 200. In order to be able to stream live, you had to have 200 subscribers, and you answered my call. We started streaming. Now we are nearly to 600. 10 more, we hit the 600 mark. I'm pushing for 1,000. I think you can help me get there. So if you're not a subscriber to the Greg Belfrage Show on YouTube, please consider becoming one. The president on True Social this morning, a number of posts here within the last half hour with reaction to the State of the Union speech. He's sharing links. 5 unforgettable moments from the State of the Union address. Trump puts Democrats on defense in patriotic, disciplined State of the Union. That is coming from the Daily Caller. Let's take a look at that story. Just minutes into the State of the Union address, President Trump gave a moment nearly everyone in the House chamber could get behind. From the gallery, of course, the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team was there. They entered to a standing ovation from Congress. The president announced that the goalie would receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Throughout the night, Trump built on that moment, reflecting on America's accomplishments ahead of its 250th birthday. I bought a really nice, I think it's nice, America 250th anniversary. It's got an eagle on the front. I'll wear it for you on Monday. The president said there were a number of comments that I had missed in some of the reporting that I have seen, and the Daily Caller picks up on them. President said a short while ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country in the world, the hottest, the president said. And Daily Caller says not even screaming Democrats could pull Trump from his preparation, largely stuck to the teleprompter to deliver his message. Occasionally, he veered from his remarks to note the Democrats had not stood and cheered when he called to outlaw sex change surgery for minors, or that American citizens needed to be prioritized over illegal aliens. That's a no-brainer, as we talked about on the show earlier this week. The president saying these people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. He's not wrong. Another unifying moment came when the president turned to Erica Kirk. She was also there. I don't know that I told you that. She was also there. The president spoke about faith and the religious revival that he believes is taking over the country since the killing of Charlie Kirk. I think there's a lot of this, and it's one reason. I've had discussions, I think, with some of you as well as privately, that I'm disappointed. I'm kind of down in the mouth, and people who are optimistic saying, you know what, since the killing of Charlie Kirk, a lot of young Americans would just it hit them hard. And I think the president was right too. I'm glad Erica Kirk was there. President, of course, talked about the economy and went on. There were some statements that he, in closing, that really caught my attention. The president said, when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it's still turning to America, he said. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. Pretty inspiring words from President Trump. That's a piece by Daily Caller. Town Hall, Matt Vespa over at townhall.com. It's got a great piece. Liberal media reactions to Trump's State of the Union were wild. But this poll will drive libs nuts. So this is pretty crazy. CNN was looking at the polling, and they couldn't process their own poll. In other words, the talking heads were looking at CNN's polling. 64% of CNN viewers, 64%, saying the president's policies would move the country in the right direction, and they're just dumbfounded. They're just sitting there. It's like they're shell-shocked, seeing the results of their own poll. That is great. And Vespa says, even David Axelrod, Democrat, liberal, even David Axelrod had to begrudgingly admit that Trump knows how to work the room. He suggested that Trump's State of the Union speech was a success. He used the galley very skillfully. I think he did well from their perspective. So I think he did well from their perspective. He just can't quite bring himself to say that, in fact, he did go on. He said he used the gallery very skillfully, talking about it. So they're sitting there. David Axelrod had to compliment Trump for the State of the Union speech. It's a success when you've got people like, Democrats like David Axelrod on CNN, kind of stunned by their own poll, 64% who believe the president turned in a remarkable performance, and they're just kind of shell-shocked. They do not know what to do. I love this. I just love watching them. What? And then over on CBS, Vespa says they tried to frame Abigail Spanberger as a moderate. Yeah, that's the biggest joke you've ever heard. Jake Tapper said, he quoted the president. He said, these people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy, which the president did. And I've shared that with you. And Tapper says, that's not something we ever heard from Obama or Biden from that stage. And Sean Duffy said, yeah, we've never had a speaker rip up a speech either. I love it when the Trump administration throws this stuff right back in the faces of the legacy media. It's just, that's why it's just absolutely incredible. And I love seeing that happen. The Major Garrett over at CBS News, he used to be on Fox long ago. He seems more at place over at CBS, because Major Garrett says that Trump showed off his use of the dark art of oversimplifying issues like illegal immigrant crime and protecting American citizens. What? Again, what? That somehow the dark art of oversimplifying these issues? These are simple issues. You're in the country illegally. How many times I say this on the air this morning? You're in the country illegally. Get out. If you are in the country illegally, get out. How many thousands of times, how many thousands of people need to tell you to get out if you're in the country illegally? You have the president doing it. You have Tom Homan doing it. Honestly, I think every time I've seen Tom Homan speak, he says, if you're in the country illegally, get out. Get out before we find you. Get out before we find you. We're coming for you. So get out of the country. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, also on the State of the Union, I couldn't find this. Forgive me. I'm looking at there was a Joni Ernst story that I wanted to touch on this morning, and now I can't find it. And I was digging through my stack of stuff. That's why I was a little bit late this morning, because I wanted to give kudos to Iowa Senator Joni Ernst and the work that she is doing on fraud. And this is going back to an Obama era program, where we're paying money, states are paying money to people who have been dead. And she's rooting out that fraud and wants to make changes that doesn't happen again. And when it comes to fraud, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst is a fighter. May disagree with her on some other issues, but she is absolutely solid, I think, on a lot of things. And her work on fraud needs to be, I think, applauded and appreciated by those of us who are sick and tired of the corruption and the waste in the federal government, because Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, doing a nice job on fraud. Forgive me, my eyes were on the vice president talking about fraud. So J.D. Vance will lead a nationwide war on fraud. This is a coalition of conservative state financial officers who say they've already uncovered and stripped billions in taxpayer waste, and they're working with the White House. So this was a letter to the White House yesterday. The State Financial Officers Foundation praised President Trump's focus on what he called fraud scandals that have resulted in tens of billions of dollars being stolen from American taxpayers, saying that such corruption shreds the fabric of the nation. And so the vice president has been tasked then with overseeing this waste, fraud, and abuse crackdown throughout the country, some of it Medicaid fraud, and that brought some comments then from Minnesota governor. I was digging through my stories here earlier. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who has unveiled legislation to combat fraud. And he denounced the Trump administration for threatening to withhold federal funds from Minnesota. He says this is retribution. This is retribution against Minnesota. You know, Minnesota is crazy town. Minnesota is crazy town. And in particular, with respect to the many listeners that I have coming from Minnesota, I appreciate you. I'm talking about the Twin Cities area. I am talking about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. The stuff that we see coming out of the Twin Cities is just poison. It's absolute poison. And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is the cheerleader of a lot of this. And so now he is saying, well, this Medicaid funds that the administration is withholding due to concerns about fraud, which Minnesota has been in the middle of with what, a $9 billion Somali fraud campaign. They've been right in the middle of this. And Governor Walz is acting like, oh, you know, he got his feeler hurt. He got his feeler hurt over some of these comments of the president, that this is a targeted campaign of retribution. You know, no, it's not. Know what Americans expect? They expect their elected leaders to follow the damn law. That's what they expect. They expect you to follow the law. It's really just that simple. So Walz is out there. I did want to point out, and I mentioned this on the show this morning, but I want to make sure 3 Minnesota lawmakers have filed articles of impeachment against both Governor Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. So Drew Roach, Ben Davis, and Mike Weiner of the Minnesota Freedom Caucus have filed the documents. And this is, again, $9 billion stolen with the programs that have been designed, in the Somali community and what was going on there. It's just absolutely kind of blows your mind, as you take a look at what was going on in Minnesota. Okay, if you're not a subscriber of mine on YouTube yet, please consider becoming one. I would love to have you on board. We're at 590 subscribers. So just over the course of the last few days, I've been picking up more. I want to hit that 600 mark. I think we can hit 1,000, and I'm going to keep pushing because we'll get to a point where things will start to steamroll. I think we'll have more people that'll be a part of what we're doing each day, and I'm just really grateful, regardless of what you believe. Rush Limbaugh used to say, I don't care if you love me or hate me, as long as you tune in tomorrow. And some of you are. I'm watching some of the comments on YouTube, especially. And then they're not there just one day. They're there the next day with more of the same comments. I don't care if you love me or hate me, as long as you tune in tomorrow. Okay, let's leave it there for now. You have made it to the end of the video, which means you're part of my gallery of champions. A salute to the Bunker Brigade, which we do each and every day. Those are the folks on YouTube who are commenting, being a part of what we're doing live, and I appreciate all of you. I want to wish you a great weekend. Take care. Until Monday, my friend, I'm underground and gone.